Good afternoon and good evening for those who will be following us later on to this amazing moment that we have together every Saturday here with one another as we open ourselves to share a moment, an enlightening moment to all of us, where we bring someone to speak, someone who will bring information from the amazing teachings of Spiritism, as well as connect with what is going on in the world today, right? In our lives, and give us the ability to forget the things that we are worried about, forget the things that it's bothering us, to open us to an ascending topic or feeling in our hearts, right? So for that, we are very grateful to have you here, to have our speaker tonight, who we will introduce in a moment. But before we do that, as usual, let us read a passage of the book Happy Life from the Spirit Joana de Angelis through the hands of the medium Divaldo Pereira Franco. This reading helps us to connect with our mentors as we then move on to our opening prayer as well. And Joana de Angelis says the following: there are many people worried about the harm that others may do to them. They transfer to their neighbor the responsibility for their own failures and constantly discover enemies everywhere, fleeing from an indispensable, clear self analysis. They wander along paths of evil doing and accusations. With such a conduct, they wound, harm, and perturb others, and are not aware of the evil they have succumbed to, and which they are helplessly moved around by. The evil which resides in every individual. This is what makes a man bad, a pernicious element in the social context. So let us then take this moment, as we were saying earlier, to liberate. If we have this feeling inside of us, if we'll worry about others, the harm that others can do to us, let us put it aside. Let us take responsibility of our thoughts, of our feelings, and connect with the spirits and the minds and the hearts who wants us well, right? Our dear Creator, our Master Jesus, and all of our mentors who work so hard for us to be here tonight and really partake in this moment. On that note, we would like to invite everyone for our opening prayer, where we say, Dear Father, Mother God, we're thankful for this moment in our lives, connecting with one another. Yes, still through the web, but let us allow this moment come through our doors, our windows, and permeate around our home. Give us the ability to take as much as possible from this talk, from this conversation that we'll have with our dear friend Yasco, so we can apply in our lives. Give us this moment and help us multiply it through our good actions, our good deeds in society, at home, through our co-workers, friends, and perhaps, most importantly, with those whom we still have to take care of certain things in order for us to be more and more harmoniously. So this way, we are thankful for this moment, and we ask that our dear friend Yasco Aracava can conduct this evening, teaching us, reminding us, and touching our hearts through the topic of liberty, equality, and fraternity. With your guidance, protection, and permission, we open this meeting tonight, and so be it. So, as we just mentioned, it's an amazing it's an amazing date for all of us, right? Important date for all of us, for this nation. We were talking about this earlier, I should say, September 11, when we shouldn't even say commemorate, but we revisit some of the difficult things that we have happened here in this nation, and it still happens in certain parts of the world. But as Joana de Angelis says, this is a moment for us to really think about what's important for us. What are we cultivating in our lives? And for that, it's important for us to bring such a topic of liberty, equality, and fraternity among ourselves, right? Especially when we're living in the turmoil of our lives right now. And I would like to bring to you Yasco to talk about this topic and enlighten us with this amazing moment that we have on Saturdays. Go ahead, Yasco. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Leo. Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be with you together once more to share learnings, experiences, and it's not for there is a motive for us to be together around the teachings of our dear Master Jesus. It could be other masters, but we end up being as Christians, and also the Spiritists, whose base is the Jesus Gospel. Let me share. Let me see. Is it okay? Everything is appearing there. Hope so. So it was. I didn't think about that. This my talk would coincide with September 11. It is a very important date, 20 years after this horrific attack. Of course, there were other attacks that happened before this event, but this event struck the heart of the American people, never being attacked in its own land. And the way it was graphically reported was online almost so, and 3,000 people discarnated, loved ones, young adults, and more seniors. All the firefighters that first responded, they never thought the other tower will be struck again and they will be completely perished. So our honor to all of those that gave their lives to save those that they could, and those that for some reason were victim of this attack in that moment, and the family. Our prayer for them to find sorrow after so many years, 20 years, with those memories and the left memories of the loved ones running over and over again. May they really be consoled and feel that there is an order, and we are very, very grateful for their service, any service that they were doing in that tower, around the tower, saving people, etc. Okay, so I had chosen this topic 2 months ago, actually, and it coincides, like I said, in September 11. So we had crisis, and I wanted to share with you our feelings and analyze how liberty, equality, and fraternity that was put forward by the French Revolution in end of 1700s, 1780, 1789, is still stand true, especially in times of crisis. Well, we have old crises that are not gone yet. Hunger in great part of the planet, lack of clean water to drink, inequality in this basic level, being almost a survival level, that are denied to people since they are in their mother's womb. And after they're born, how difficult it is without medical care, basic sanitary conditions where they live, etc. But we have new crises in the last years, decade, 10 or 20 years. So we start with this. I put the figure of the two towers, the terrorism. So the terrorism that started before that, but it started to grow all over Europe, all over the planet. And then came the Syria crisis, where the huge city of Aleppo and surrounding Aleppo, it was completely bombarded. Whose fault is or not, it doesn't matter, but look at the figure. The whole family in this distress, trying to save their families from this destroyed before very beautiful city, very vibrant city. Then came very clearly the problem of the migrants, the refugee from exactly from these places where the survival became very difficult. So came all the migrants through the borders of Syria to Greece and Greece to Rome, and from the Mediterranean area through the land or through the boat, and many perished during this travel. Families that they took great risk and should be excruciating pain to lose your child left behind. Then the border of Mexico and United States, and borders of other countries in the Central America that migrate to Mexico, trying to enter in United States. And now, 2 years almost, the coronavirus pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. So we all are here to reflect what is behind of all these new quote-unquote crises. What is the commonality? It's not new, right? It's human being, and we're gonna see that it still keeps their old vices, and that comes out, is expressed more vividly during this crisis, regional crisis, but nevertheless a populational crisis, a big amount of people that are victimized by this situation. So Allan Kardec, in this, he left behind what became later the Posthumous Works, of course, published after his death. And he, in this book, we'll have there is one whole chapter dedicated to this issue: liberty, equality, fraternity. So more or less 1 century after the French Revolution. And he says these 3 principles represent the most absolute progress of humanity. However, if their principle of liberty, equality, fraternity have full application. What is that? So we still, we cherish, but is not doing the good job because there is no full application, genuine application of these principles. And he says, what are the obstacles in the current state of society? This is 1 century after the French Revolution. What are the remedies? So if we think about liberty, or sometimes we translate as freedom, look at the map. In late 1700s, beginning of 1800s, there were many, many empires. Empires. If you see, United States only got this the independence in 1776. So here is still belonged most of the part to England. Louisiana area belonged to France. Alaska belonged to Russia, the Soviet Union. Brazil and some of those countries, Angola, Mozambique, belonged to Portuguese, were colonized by Portuguese. There is this whole yellow that is a Spanish colonies in the Mexico and the whole west side of the South America. So England ruled a lot of regions in Africa and India, Australia. That still is still some link to, is not completely independent. So in during the French Revolution, they still all this empire, and the French Empire, France got all this part of the west part of Africa, plus Louisiana and Madagascar. So only after the Second World War, imagine India, this old country with old culture, old religion that goes back to more than 2,000 years before Christ, 3,000, whatever, way before the Vedas, the Hinduism, Buddhism after. Only it was ruled by England for quite a time. Imagine how this absurd. And of course came Gandhi, that after the war, after this peaceful movement, got the independence of India after from the English Empire. Look, Africa. Africa starts to have their independence only in 1960s. Of course, Egypt and some countries were before they were independent, but most of Africa, only in 1960s, they could be liberated by their colonizer, France, England, Spain, it's Netherlands, etc. And then there is the other problem, which is the slavery. So many of this population from Africa, it could be royal people in Africa, they were slaves they brought to United States, to Brazil. They were sold in the market, like an item. And then came Lincoln in 1863. And he gave to the America Emancipation Proclamation and freed the slaves. And that was a very, that was during this bloody Civil War. He was a very courageous president to do so. So now comes the pandemics, and we see all of you were tired to see this clash between a group of people that say, help stop COVID, mask up, spread out, get the shot. So get social distance, use mask, wash your hands, now get the vaccine and save yourself and your loved ones. So 50%, 40%, 50% went for it, understood, because this was science-based and made sense, they rationalized it. But the other part that still don't want to use masks, none of those says freedom, no lockdown, no masks, freedom to no mask. I don't want to mask. What this kind of thing is that? Why I have to be subjected to this demand from some authority? Why I should let people use my body for the tests or for the vaccine? Then we're gonna see, if you look at the history before, how hard all people in the New World, in Europe or in Africa, they fought for this freedom that is ingrained in their subconscious. There's, my God, this was so hard to get this independence, to personal freedom. Now comes back this nightmare. So Kardec says, yes, the liberties of free movement, gathering in public space, and control over one's own body were only secure after hard-fought battles and painful individual sacrifice. Nor are they universally enjoyed across the globe today. Still, there is some place that you cannot move from one part to the other. And also very recently, in the Irish part, north and south, now they can go freely from one side to the other. The West and Eastern Germany also, the wall was turned down. But this is so recent. So still there is some place that you cannot walk any place, and women cannot either outside their home. But Kardec says, nonetheless, liberty is central to contemporary political philosophies and are protected by law. That's it. That's why here in the United States, we say the law protects me. I cannot be forced to get the shot, to be locked down, because it's protected. So you have to convince, nicely by reasoning, but still there is a big political, how to say, background that people want to say that this is more important than science. What are the enemies of freedom or the liberty? Kardec says, both selfishness and pride. Therefore, if these are the enemies of freedom, they are equally enemies of the equality and fraternity. Because if I'm selfish, I don't want anybody to reach equality. I want everything for me. Better, if I'm way better situation than the others, I'm happy. And pride, because I secure my position of power. And fraternity cannot be exerted fully if there is selfishness and pride in my heart. So he says, how selfishness that wants everything for itself, the pride that always wants to dominate, would give a hand to the freedom that would dethrone them. Yes, once I get out and want to invite everyone to share, my freedom is gone, because they're gonna now invade my territory, my freedom, because we don't know if the other person also has this moral principle of selflessness and be humble correctly in their heart. We have seen, once the government is dethroned, enter the small group, the rebels, and once they enter in power, they do the same mistakes, which is authoritarianism. They want to be authoritarian and put their laws. So what is the difference? So Kardec says freedom presupposes mutual trust. Oh, this is something that we should see. Who has this mutual trust? Even among family members, when it comes to really check, where is the money is going, family money is going, where is, imagine in between groups, different groups, distinct groups, different classes, mutual trust is very far away. There could be no trust between people moved by the exclusive feeling of the personality. Yeah, we all like this is still in this situation, being satisfied only at the expense of another. There be a lot of abuse and quote unquote slavery. We slave our employee or our people that are helping us, trying to pay less, trying to not to be thankful. All this is at the expense of somebody else's pain, uneasiness, because they're going home, because they feeling they were not well treated, rightfully treated. Selfish and pridefulness people are increased unceasingly on guard against one another. Always, I'm at attack, at defense. Always afraid of losing the so-called their rights. Domination is the very condition of their existence. So they will always trap freedom and they will restrain it for as long as they can. So as long as I can have not to give freedom to ones that are in the lower level of freedom, I try not to give. I try to restrain because I say, oh, if I give to my employee, what they're gonna do now to me? They're gonna. We are always afraid of this. That the people, once is giving something, they're gonna demand more and more. Why not try? Why not test? If they're not, they can be reasonable, be thankful. Equality. There's old inequality like clean water, food. There are many places in Africa, they hardly have one meal per day, like in Mozambique, where the Fraternity Without Borders is acting. Now they get at least one meal per day. Imagine. And comes the more modern, more contemporary activists like the civil rights with Martin Luther King in United States, civil rights movement, and now more recently, equal work, equal pay, women between different ethnicity, color, equal work, equal pay, and all the different genders, the gender inequality that is started to be more expressed in more recent years. And of course, the health equality. We call that we should reach not actually equality, but equity, equity, equidade. So because if I give the same thing, the ones that are in disadvantage, they're not gonna reach the condition to grab it. But so you have to give more opportunity to those that are low in the needy classes, and those that are already in a good shape don't need a great support. In order for all three of those get the same resources. So the resource sometimes doesn't come because the ones that are already in a bad situation cannot go there and get it. The resources are not accessible to them. So it has to put more effort to raise the condition of the lower income, the lower class, to get to a reasonable, actable condition of the whole nation. So what this COVID pandemic is revealing, in this issue? Well, of course, the long-term effect of pandemic show that the women's career may be more significant in long-lasting damage was halted behind than the impact on the careers of men, because women still are the ones that are stay in their home, taking care now with the children that stays at home in the majority, right? There are household that the man is very active, very present, but in general, sometimes it's even single mothers, that now they have to deal with the work and they have to deal with the children, school, at home. Also, both infection death rates have been higher in people from ethnic minority backgrounds than among the population as a whole. So this equity is not reached. It got more a disparity during the COVID. And we all witnesses this because, to now, I need the transportation, and I'm more exposed because I'm in public transportation. I have to go far away. I don't have car, and the car somehow protects each one of us while we're inside the car, our own private car. So there is everything becomes more tendentious towards a bad negativity towards the bad, the low class and suffering class in terms of infection and death rates. This is very, very, very sad, very sad. So again, what is the enemy for equality? We're gonna say over and over again, is pride. Because pride wants to prevail and dominate, lives on privilege and exceptions. So they don't want equality whatsoever. Otherwise, how the domination will, my power will stay there, so be maintained. My privilege that originate from this dominating position. So now pride being one of the plagues of society, as long as it is not destroyed, Kardec said, destroyed, it will pose a barrier to true equality. It has to be destroyed. As men live as brothers with equal rights, which is we are far from, animated by feeling of mutual benevolence, they will practice justice among themselves. They will never seek to harm each other, and consequently will have nothing to fear from one another. So there is a lot of fear that someone will replace me if I give a chance to my I'm a director, but there is my assistant. If I give a lot of condition, opportunity, equality, it may rise and will get my place. So there is always a fear. So I have to put a barrier with my pride, with my domination, in order not to allow my assistant to go upwards in his or her career. How far are we from achieving it? So achieve these equal rights, live as brothers, mutual benevolence, not live in fear. How far are we from achieving it? I don't know, you guys. Sometimes I get discouraged, but sometimes looking backwards with all the rights that were put forward in laws and guidelines, I feel more hopeful, of course. We went a lot forward in these past decades. Fraternity. There's old figures, old missionaries, Lady D, in this mine field that she was HIV, that she's rescuing all the children. Mother Teresa, again, the children hunger because of all the HIV that their parents also, the parents perished with this, succumbed to this disease, and all the hunger in Africa. This is already old, but then there is this new in the bottom part here, you know, this rescue, the 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 the, the claim for fraternity to save people, migrants that were in desperation through the sea, Mediterranean Sea, the Caribbean Sea, coming to get a chance to life. And a lot of homeless that is increased a lot in the streets of the United States. It's not any longer a problem of third world country, developing country. No, United States. No matter what is the reason, if it's the mental problem, if it's the COVID job that was lost, but there is a lot people giving this hand to this homeless, lot of organization, fraternity organization, giving food, giving shelter. So there is a lot of hope. And Pope Francis, in his last encyclical, Fratelli Tutti, he's talking, we're going to come to this a little bit later about this encyclical. So fraternity, what is fraternity according to Kardec? Fraternity sums up all the duties, look at that, duties of men towards one another. It's a duty. It means, look at that, it means devotion, selflessness, tolerance, benevolence, indulgence, charity par excellence, application of the maxim to act towards others as we would like others to act towards us. So fraternity, fraternal love is this. I want love, be loved by my brother, so I have to also love my brother. The counterpart is selfishness, the dominant plague of present societies. So once I am selfish, there's no way for me to apply true fraternity, genuine, pure fraternity. You are always gonna have a second agenda, a hidden agenda. Oh, I give this 10 cents, but behind this I will get 9 cents. Something like that. Either because I will appear, my photo will appear in the news, etc. Without fraternity, there could be neither serious equality nor serious freedom. Equality stems from fraternity, and liberty is the consequence of the two. So it seems these three principles are all hooked in balance. One cannot appear without the other two, no matter which one you choose, liberty, freedom, or fraternity. They have to be these three in balance. In true fraternal society, it means no privilege or special rights. Look at that. If I want to be truly fraternal, I have to give up in selfishness and certain privilege that pride may send me to ask, to demand for me. Oh, what do you think? I have this position, so my pride is speaking. So therefore, I have some privilege because of my class. I belong to the class of the ones that have a university title. Something like that, you know. So I I remember some old early studies of chemistry. So I decided to put these three, what in chemistry, the reaction of these three elements, they stay in perfect in dynamic equilibrium, which is the least energy use condition. So we stay in this equilibrium. If you cannot bend one side or the other, otherwise the other one will suffer, will get out of balance. So Kardec says these three principles ought to be in solidarity with each other and mutually supporting each other. Mutually supporting each other. So fraternity practice in its purity could not be alone, because without equality and freedom, there is no true fraternity. So it's a little bit of repetition, but it's good to reinforce. Without fraternity, one uses it to give course to all immoralities. So the freedom is used in excess to other things. Depends on our moral status, and we are not good yet as a spirit, so we carry a lot of moral defects. So if the chances are given, if there is no break from fraternal love in my heart, I can just derail, and this is anarchy, he says. Freedom without brotherhood. So again, brotherhood sometimes is equal to fraternity. Freedom without brotherhood gives freedom of actions to all bad passions. So if I don't think I may, with my freedom, hurt my partner, if I don't have this sentiment, my bad passions will come out. This happens a lot inside our household, between couple. It's my right to have this. But how about the other one, the partner? It's my right to get out from this marriage, or to have a one night encounter. But how about the feelings of that other person that felt deceived? So if I don't have inside of me this fraternal love, my bad passions can come out, and I label this, is my right, is my right, is my freedom. Equality without fraternity leads to the same results, because equality wants freedom. So if I want myself the rights to be equal, but I don't have fraternity there, the love, I can just end up using the rights for equality to get some advantage. That's what he says. Under the pretext of equality, the small slaughters the small ones, slaughters the large to replace it, and becomes a tyrant in turn. This is just a replacement of despotism. That's what is happening when one dethrone one government, and the rebel enters, or the militia, or whatever, the alternative power comes, and they make the same mistake of excess power in name of equality that they fought before. They fought for equality, but once they are in the power, forget equality. Because we are still this old spirit with the old tendencies of subjugate people, of take advantage, and the pride and selfishness is there in all of us in different levels. So despotism, we see, French Revolution, when they dethroned the royalties, but what they did, the Jacobians, it was a terror time. And then came the rise of Napoleon in this, because it was an abuse. It was an abuse. They killed the king, Louis XVI, but who replaced were worse than this, subjugating people, beheading, etc. Fraternity and life in society. So in this magazine, the Spiritist Review, that Kardec was publishing every month, 1862, there is also, he said, pure fraternity is the basis of all moral and the only means of achieving a sustainable social order and producing the effects worthy of the cause that you have embraced. Oh my God. If I want to contribute to a sustainable social order, I have to more and more practice pure fraternity. It has to be moral. One institution that it can be any institution, bank, a supermarket chain. It has to have some morality there. We cannot abuse and enslave, quote unquote, the employee for long hours, for being in conditions, physical strain, being stand up the whole day, the cashier, etc., etc. So they say, should be the basis, pure fraternity, the moral base of all moral institutions. Or moral institution is all, from hospitals to bank, as I said. And the only means of achieving a sustainable social order. Otherwise, the war will erupt, producing the effects worthy of the cause that you have embraced. What cause we have been embracing? Fraternity is sympathy in union. Union. We have to be a group, a solid group with a focus in human respect, good human conditions. Say, you need to be united to be strong, and to be strong to create an institution that rests solely on the truth. No fake, no denial. Divided, the forces are annihilated. Together, they are stronger and stronger. It's like this. A single arrow is easily broken, but not 10 in a bundle. It's very difficult to break a bundle of arrows. And of course, this question is in the Spirit's book, in the session of equality, a law of society. What do you see without fraternity? Selfishness, ambition. It is necessary to pull out the stones and thorns, work tirelessly to eradicate the virus of pride and selfishness. Look, Kardec says virus, and we all know how the virus of COVID replicate and divide. If the environment is proper to replication, it will, in the exponential rate, increase the number. Here, they say the virus of pride and selfishness will grow, depends on the condition. If it's given to me, I have already a tendency for pride and selfishness, and I am put in a position of power, no check and balance. My God, it will be a disaster. So that's why he says we have to work tirelessly to eradicate the virus of pride and selfishness, because therein lies the source of all evil, the real obstacle to the realm of wealth. All evil, the words here, all vices, I would say, other vices that are not the primary one, the one that comes from pride and selfishness. Well, Pope Francis, in his encyclical of course, in all many his talk, of course, he applies the maxim for Jesus' teachings: love your neighbor as yourself. So love, the fraternal love, is the supreme law. So I don't know if you guys remember, in a little bit, they start before COVID, and once they start to put forward the document, the COVID came, of course. So on February 2019 in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, Pope Francis and the Sheikh Ahmed Al Tabet, Grand Imam of Al Aqsa. This is the higher religious person, authority in the Islamic world. So they sign a joint statement named Human Fraternity for World Peace and Living Together, also known as Abu Dhabi Declaration. So it was a huge event, and was a beautiful event. We have many pictures of those, the Arabs, they kiss the cheek. A very interesting gathering there. It was before COVID, so they could be in person there. And in his encyclical Fratelli Tutti, all brothers, fraternity, the subtitle is Fraternity and Social Friendship. Pope Francis stated, this document, the above document that they signed together, this document was not a mere diplomatic gesture, but a reflection born from dialogue and common commitment. Very beautiful. The general purpose of the Pope's encyclical is to contribute to the development of global community of fraternity. So he's so keen and he's so aware that the base of all problems in the planet is the lack of a brotherhood, the real fraternity. So he says, contribute to the development of global community of fraternity, which leads to the practice of social friendship in the service of the common good. Fraternity is the key word of the social encyclical, and its core element is love in the global city. He put the planet as a global city, or social charity. So I have to see my neighbor just next door as the same neighbor that is the other side of the planet. We have to reach to this position of not only the same need of the person in this side of the planet is different from the others. No, it's the same. We are all human beings. So we have to see as one, all one globe, all one family. And look how beautiful it is. And he says, of course, it's huge. There is many chapters and many pages. But I like this part. Let's dream then as a single human family, as fellow travelers sharing the same flesh, as children of the same earth, which is our common home. Each one of us brings the richness of his or her beliefs and convictions. Each one of us with his or her own voice. Brothers, we don't need to be equal. Even twin brothers, we don't need to be. But we have to share the same richness, the same fraternity, the beliefs and convictions. If we aim at the happiness and wellness, it has to be the same. The person that is in the other side, they want the same thing as the source of happiness. They want all happiness in their family. It's not different. Different social class, different religious background. They all wanted to be happy, content. Okay, so because more current contemporary problems were all related to borders, and I chose those pictures that show all the hands to save people running through the sea or through the fences, Mexican border, everybody, how much help was there. And especially dear to us Brazilians is when we welcomed many families that were struggling in Venezuela. And it was a beautiful, beautiful act. Here are the people with the two flags. And this lady, Samia Awada, she is descendant from Lebanese. Her parents came from fleeing from Lebanon. She lost her her father very young. So she has in her core, inner core, this problem of refugee, of running away, borders, crossing borders, going to another country, leaving things, your family, your culture, your beliefs in the back, and coming to Brazil. So she has her website called Saga das Almas, the Saga of Souls. And I heard this in Portuguese, of course, Fronteiras, in one of the talk, I think it was from Elaha, her husband. And I asked permission to her to translate the best I could to English and present it in this talk, because we were talking. And you see how sensitive she is in her words as a person that are welcoming now the refugee in their home. So let's read that. I offer you my world, like home to shelter you, with deep respect to the loss of your home. I offer you my color and the tone of my speech and the story of what I am. I offer to teach you. I open my borders to you. I accept your children and the gratitude you express in prayers to your God. I accept your color and the pain in your look, your worship and your fervor to your traditions. I accept you in my streets as the only survival, with your afflictions in every dawn. I accept your nostalgia of the world you lost, of everything you left in the war where you died. I accept you as you are. Accept me as I am, for we will only have peace, being brothers in pain. So, Pope Francis said, liberty and equality are not enough for the well-being of a nation. There must also be a strong sense of brotherhood. First develop this brotherhood, first developed and nurtured in the family. Thank you very, very much. Let me stop. Did I do correctly?
She did. Thank you. Thank you, Yasco, for all sharing with us these different topics and giving the best highlights ever, if we can say that way, for the time being of what we're going through, as well as acknowledging today's date, right? When we come together to remember all of those who sacrificed their lives in the difficulties of life, and to perhaps exemplify what we talked about here today: liberty, equality, and fraternity in all areas of the world, and how we live as well. Because sometimes we think that the connotation that we give to these elements of life, sometimes behaviors, is has to do with the men and women who is in the military or whatnot. It is, but also it goes beyond that as well on how we connect with one another in society, right? So thank you for the analysis. And even though you mentioned at the beginning that you had chosen this topic 2 months ago, nothing, we know that nothing is by chance, right? Uh,
Yeah.
and it happened that it fell on today's date. So thank you for bringing such a beautiful topic to all of us, and the highlights makes us think, that we have to go back and study even more about it. As usual, we like to connect with everyone, say our hellos back to everyone. Many of us have connected here tonight, and hopefully we'll connect as well in the future, as they can, we can always stream and watch it again, and tell a friend or two about it, and connect with us later on. But I want to say just a couple hellos here. Hello back to you, Nelsie, as well. It's good to see you here. And Bruce from Portland. I gotta work a little bit here. Bruce here
Thank
from
you.
Portland
Thank you.
saying hello, and many others as well that connect. And our friends here from the SSB here in Maryland also connecting with us. And as we always like to make sure that we utilize our time wisely. We would like just to pose some of the questions that we have here. I will go ahead and start with Daniel when he asks, how do you draw the line between one's freedom and collective freedom?
You know, uh, the what I apply to me, if my right is hurting someone, or the doesn't matter how many people, can be one, can be two, can be collective. If I am subtracting the chance for that human being to be happy in a genuine way, not in a take advantage, no, in a genuine way, and we know, I think my demand is not good, not good. You know, no matter what you say, what side I am of the political arena, if I'm causing harm, if I'm causing unhappiness, something's wrong. If my will is not to pay attention to others' pain, necessity, something in my equation, in my assessment is not correct. Perhaps I am asking too fast the rights. I may consider equate more what one has or the other and share. It's not equality, it's equity. Like if my little, it can be family, if my brother is in need of more basic resources, one brother versus one sister, for example, I said, well, I have this $1,000 or reais. Oh, I know, I'm gonna divide right in the middle. This is equality, but it won't solve the problem of the human necessity or distinction. So I have to allow my brother that's way down to reach the position of my sister. giving a little bit more to him. So that is why the equity is different from equality, because in the end, the one that lag behind needs more resource, more opportunities, more support in order to now reach more or less the same level and now seek the same opportunities ahead. But if the one stays low, doesn't have a basic way to survive, how can it can compete for education, have education, good job? No. So I think every time we are subtracting or not allowing the other to develop, to reach a little bit some steps, my demand probably is not correct. I have to reassess in family, workplace, in society, and we can expand. So it's not that white and black. You have to assess each situation. Yeah.
Thank you, Yasco. And it's good that you also are bring this the difference between this idea of equality and equity as well, right? If we don't have the basis in terms of equity, then we see some kind of disadvantage as well in our society.
Perpetuate the disadvantage. You
Right.
perpetuate. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's important as well for us to think about it. But that also goes, in hand with, our rights and our duty as well in society. I think it's important for us to bring that, element to the discussion as well. Not that we're going to go through, but I'm just kind of mentioning. But we move on to a next question. That was through the Spirits Network. What should we do to help change the mentality that collective freedom sometimes is more important than individual freedom, i.e., in times like we are living right now, the pandemic?
Yeah. That's why I brought some history, because we to conquer the level of rights, civil rights that we enjoy now, there was a lot of fight, bloody war. So people don't want to let it go. But in the pandemic is a quite good example, because the virus the virus doesn't care what social, the human body has cells, and they love live cells, live blood cells, live tissues. So once it enters for in the system, if there is no correct defense, immunodefense, oh, the virus is gonna do what the virus always knew how to do it, which is to replicate, to divide, and be very happy, and to give to another one through organic fluid, which has cells and all this virus content. So in this case, like you say, we cannot demand individual right if I'm living in a society. If you are in an isolated island, okay, you can do even that. If there is a tree there that depends on you, you are sharing. You are sharing. You cannot just put a fire there and say, "Oh, I'm alone. I can do whatever I want." But I have insects. I have the plants. I have all the birds. So even isolate from humans, you still have a commitment with the global, with the whole universal creation and living beings. So they say that's why the liberty, freedom cannot come alone without this notion of fraternity, of respect, of a worry or is about the my brother, my co-workers. If I don't have that, I will be selfish, proud by demanding my liberty, individual liberty. So in the pandemics, I'm sorry, but we cannot allow the virus to replicate and divide in those that are not protected, And if at least they cover not to pass to the other, but if they remove the mask, if they have all that content of virus inside them, but if they keep only to themselves, it's okay, by social distance, by mask. But no, though, if I have a high level of virus inside me, and plus I come close to you and start to spill saliva, that's not fair, right? Because we share common public space. We're not isolated. There is around us 2, 3, 10 people in the elevator that passed in the last 5 minutes that we didn't even see who was inside the elevator coughing. So I think the pandemic is teaching us to be humble, to let the pride go down, to not to demand only rights for yourself or for ourselves.
Yes, that's a good point, Yasco. And I think that, to remind everyone, it's important for us to do so in terms of what Spiritism bring to us, right? It is we have freedom to do everything, and I think we can always quote Paul here, but not everything is really, is up for us to do. And I'm poorly paraphrasing here, but Spiritism really brings to us the before, the during, and the after in terms of consequences and how to analyze
Responsibility.
the responsibility and how we will act and how that will weigh not only on us but on society as well. And I think that's important for us to remind everyone, because it gives us the tool, and more importantly than anything else, it also tells us, look, you have free will. Now, with free will, we'll also have, there will be consequences whether we do A or B. Hopefully, the good consequences will come because we act, with a good intent, number one, and number two, with a good heart that we were also putting forth our brothers and sisters. So, thanks for that. That is very
Yeah, I
pertinent to
don't
what we're
want,
going
for
through.
instance, the person has the right not to be vaccinated, but how about the people in his household? They
Right.
have the right to live, not to get sick, too, right? So there is one right, one other right. Where you draw the line, it has
Yeah.
to be a compromise,
There,
right?
there, yeah, there has to be
That
for
is
sure.
only if you have a respect to each other, a
Right.
sense of fraternity, brotherhood. Yeah.
That is correct. Well, moving on, very helpful review on colonial world history and spot on analysis on unenlightened political power. And then we'll continue with Paula also asking, how does taking a COVID booster shot square with many in the world awaiting their first shot? I guess
Yeah.
we can say, how fair is that, right?
Yeah. It is a very how to say, nerve-breaking decision, because I always say, if I was the authority in the World Health Organization, of course I'm seeing the whole planet. I see Africa, I see all this poor Middle East, or someplace, Somalia, or I see the whole globe. Seeing that and knowing how the non-vaccinated people are the good juice of cells, tissue, to replicate the virus, and that virus can go to transported and travel very quickly. If I was this authority, I would say, please rich country, give us all or most of your excess or your vaccine to the other country that are in need. And plus, the way for the people to get the vaccination is not only the vaccine, the
Mhm.
ways to the vaccine to enter in their arm. So, but the like United States said in defense of that, United States said, no, we gave millions of doses of poor country, and I think it's fair. I'm doing my part. So if everyone gives, say, 20%, 30% of what they have, I know they're going to solve the problem. You don't need to completely halt the third shot, the extra boost. So it is because we don't have the data how these vaccines are being donated to one or the others. We tend to criticize one way or the other, you know. But we know from the virus point of view that more people if there was no traveling, the virus could not travel from one side to the other because we were in those old primitive states that were so isolated. But no, nowadays you open the board, that's it. It goes very quickly. So we have to see that more people are vaccinated, safer. The whole planet will be sooner will be safer. We all know that from the other virus that were more deadly. That there was no variola, how to say variola, I don't know. So the black, all the pest. So I think. We have to think about others. Of course, we want to open the border. So we want to open the border. So let's give the third shot. Because Israel, for instance, they thought they were safe because they had the 2 shots. They got full vaccination, and they opened the border for everyone to go back and forth. And then came Delta. So they were caught by surprise. So now they want to shield again. But shield against, how about the other strain? The other strain will start appearing on those that did not receive vaccination, because there is the best tissue, the best culture of tissues for the virus to replicate. So no matter how many barriers we put there, if with those people, there are people in the planet that are can offer the condition for the virus to replicate and the virus to travel. We are not safe by just having the third shot. We have to close the border again,
Yeah.
like Israel did. And
Right.
now maybe opening, there is all the economical pressure, but it has to be thought more globally in
Eh,
terms of virus.
Right, right, and I think that it's correct for us to, and prudent as well. I mean, to utilize the what's going on politically and economically as well, and around the world, and for us to make our judgments, for us to learn not to do the same thing if it is something bad, but also to aim on the good things that are happening. Because recently I've been reading a lot of articles about different diseases because of school and all, and one thing that I can say for sure is that that I have been amazed is the amount of money that the U.S. actually sends to other nations, and not in terms of just money directly, but also different types of resources, right? And I think that's the very little talked about. There may be some people who may say, oh yeah, there is a political agenda behind it. There is economic, in many cases that is going to arise, but some goodness is happening, and
It's
we have done quite a bit, and we have done, as you highlighted, sent, abroad, several vaccinations, several, the first and the second doses to many nations in the world. And I think this is, our duty as a nation to do this. Now, there's also on the other side a duty as well for taxpayers and everything, here in the U.S. for also to have the booster shot, to be able to, like you said, to cover the different variations that is happening as well. So we need to open up for the totality, not just one specific aspect, in order for us to make, an assumption, or at least, or even to say something directly, accusing or not,
Yeah.
a situation that is going on out there. But we move on, and we should actually, let me bring, I believe, yes, it is correct. How can you become, or how can we become fraternal with those whom we don't feel fraternal towards? From Kirsten.
Well, I think we first, of course, we have to practice. So it's easier to practice fraternity to whom we are more sympathetic, of course, because it's like a booster, a booster. So I think we kind of sensitize our being that encompass all the neurochemicals, all because mental, spiritual boost, they boost the physical neurochemical mix. So I think it's nice to start to always try a little bit more fraternity with those that we feel comfortable and we feel sympathetic. Family, for instance, some coworkers that we feel well touched. But in order to be touched, to be enlarged, to be amplified, we have to practice more and more. As I say, our whole organic being will start to change neurochemically. And now I feel that with little input, stimulus, I feel already compassionate. I wanted to jump. So it's a practice, fraternity, voluntarism, etc. And then with those that we don't feel fraternal, I think the initial thing is not to have hatred, resentment. At least try to level down this sentiment. Replace it by some reasoning. Well, the person seems so how to say, not sympathetic to me. She seems to do whatever they want. That's why I'm trying to put it far away. How about we at least think she may have a reason. He may have a reason. She's afraid. He's afraid. The mind is somewhere, and we always give benefit of doubt to this situation and not to feed our resentment, at least the long-term resentment and hatred. And slowly, we're going to see the other person also respond more nicely, because we did not smash the person. We did not give a bad look. We did kind of understand. And that has to be more and more from the heart. It's a practice again, compassion. And soon you're going to see all human beings, in the end, they don't want to be bad person. They are reacting to some situation, unhappy situation, troublesome situation, and they are lost. Sometimes they are crying for help, for some friendship. You don't know. Later, we're gonna see that the person confess, yes, you not give me any, harassment. You saved me that day. Thank you. So all people have problems, some very hard problems. So if we are in a better situation than the other, a little bit better, is for us to start a good movement, because I always say, oh, I don't have family to bother me, a husband or some, So it's up to me to give the chance, because the other person may have complex problems because, of a monetary problem, time to take care of the kids, everybody, it's not easy, So we have to give a chance to those that are struggling, I think. But it's all practice, practice, practice.
And I thank you for that, Yasco. I'm going to use the what Nilsi just brought to us here. I think that every day starts by treating others how we wish to be treated, right? So that is definitely a good
Yeah,
way
I
to
think,
start there.
see, yeah, especially when we are not in a good situation, we are so nervous, we are so struggling with little things that we cannot even tell people. That's when I need a good treatment. When I am okay, it doesn't matter. But when I am down, is where that little uplifting, oh, thanks so well, helps us so well. So I think is a practice, is a practice. But let's see if we reach that situation.
Right, Yasko, we have a little over 5 minutes, but we're trying to keep on time here. We have this question that came from Leo. I don't know who that guy is. But is there a correlation between these three elements that we study here tonight and reincarnation? In other words, if I transgress one of these areas, do I have to reincarnate to correct the past? And is there also a collective rescue?
No doubt about, it's always a cycle. We come one time as a employee, the other time I come with as a CEO. Sometimes I come as a Catholic, the other time I'm born as a Muslim, sometimes as a woman, then next time I come with so it depends on the area that we have to correct. If it's the area of power, is one kind of settings. They always set some circumstance that is the best for my learning, for my test, for me to overcome the previous defect. If it was pride, I have to cut off the pride. So I will be put in a situation. Now, of course, we come from, before we reincarnate, we come already with some lessons. The problem that we have to apply under the amnesia. I cannot remember that my mentor said, pay attention. So I have to just feel my tendencies. But yes, reincarnation is exactly to cut the excess of one in order for the other one that was lacking to build up the wonderful, the marvelous equilibrium between liberty, equality or equity, and fraternity. Because only fraternity is not good if I don't think about offering some equality and and freedom. So no doubt about, and for each one of us is so perfectly tailored for us to get a little faster in this evolution, a little faster. We can get stagnant, of course, because we can still rebel, but the good mentors, they want us to succeed the best way. If we could jump 2 steps, why not? But if you go one, they stays there, oh, it's okay. Well, it's all given the opportunity. Eternity is eternity, right? So no doubt about it. And collectively, once the fraternity is there, almost our individual need is not there anymore. I reflect myself on others, on the collective. I'm part of the collective institution, the community. So I even forget Yasco is Yasco. No, I'm part there and almost there without, you know, individuality, personality. The personality goes really down, down, down. Yeah. It's good, the ego, of course, to in this planet to produce things, to come out with good items, to good assets, to technologies. But too much now. We have to be the purpose of that ego to apply in the correct way. Yeah, for the others, always for the others.
Very well said. I think it's important for us to connect with the collective, right? And I think one of the we were talking about this past week or so together as we finalized one of our meetings, where the family institution is sometimes is suffering, right? Where it is exactly the family cell is where we learn this collectiveness, right? Whether I have a
Completely.
brother or sister or not, but I have parents, or I'm a kid, I'm actually a father or mother. So we have to think about that moment that, okay, if I, go ahead and eat again where I already had my plate, will it be enough for the others, right? Small
Yeah.
things like that, sometimes we don't think
Small,
about it.
small, small,
If I have the
small.
little tiny bit of toothpaste in the tube, right? Well, if I use too much, if I don't rationalize, what about the others that is coming after me until I buy the next one,
Exactly,
hopefully? So,
exactly. It's
and we
like
can,
what Pope Francis said in that sentence.
yes,
The brotherhood has to be nurtured, developed and nurtured in the family, where
in
we
the
are
family.
closer, and
Yeah.
we didn't come by chance
Right.
together.
And sometimes, like Kirsten asked, I mean,
Yeah,
the ones that we don't connect too much, that we're not they don't feel fraternity towards, come and reincarnate with us in our family settings, right? So we got to
oh,
take that
you
in
are
perspective.
incarnated in their set.
That is correct. Yes, you were given the opportunity. That is
Yeah.
correct. Yes,
One
but
thing is to receive someone in your house. The other thing is if you put in their environment.
it
That's
favors the
another.
other side, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's another test. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Yaska, again for this amazing topic in this amazing date of our lives as well. 20 years of September 11. We again pray for all of our brothers and sisters who have fought for us. That we also are still fighting for us, and for us who are making an effort to become a better individual in our society as well. In this amazing country where we live, that gives us the ability to cultivate these values that came from our founding fathers, right? So with that, we share our heartfelt for all of those who came here tonight to watch and to sit down and watch and share this moment with us. But I would like to ask you to please finalize the talk, this moment, with a prayer, if you will, please. Thank you.
So let's raise our thought, the best of our sentiments and emotions, to our Almighty Creator, our mentors, our Master Jesus, or other authority, saint that you wish. First, being so thankful for the opportunity of this incarnation, with all the subtleties, all the little lingering here, lingering there, in order for us to check, to test, to see if we came ready to go upwards, one step at a time. So thank you so much for all the help that our mentors are giving every day, every moment, warning us to be vigilant in moments that we are distracted, in moments our nerves are so high that we don't even see who is around, that can be hurt by our behavior. So thank you for warning us, being always with us, and also our thank most high gratitude for all the discarnated, incarnate people that are always with us in our study, in our work, family, and to those that cross to the other side, there be rescued, blessed, by a good mentor, being a good environment, hospital environment, and be eased of the pain of leaving behind suddenly a family members, the whole family, and those here to believe and to trust that our family, dear family, that discarnate are in the good situation and taking care. Thank you so much for those that fought in the rescuing all the victims of 9/11. And today, thank you for the beautiful ceremony, very emotional. Always to remind for us that we have to be fraternal brothers. Love, fraternal love. It, perhaps this can reach out all corners of the planet. Thank you, God, for all the chances for learning and to experience. Thank you, and so be it.
Thank you, everyone.